Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about whether or not AI, that is artificial intelligence, is going to replace lawyers in the future. This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And this is David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. Well, yeah, this is something I've actually wondered about quite a bit because AI has gotten to be so on everybody's mind recently, and it looks like it can do everything a person can do and quite a bit more, and it seems like a natural replacement for lawyers. But you and I were talking the other day, and it sounds like it's actually not that way. So tell me about that.
Well, I'm sure everybody's heard of the attorneys in New York that got in trouble for relying on ChatGPT to write their brief, and it was kind of an interesting story because they were already in trouble for missing a deadline, and so they quickly filed this brief written by ChatGPT with the federal court. And they only get...
And it turned out to not be right?
Right. They only get themselves in more hot water because ChatGPT has actually just started making up case law and talking about fake cases, which is a danger with ChatGPT. It will sometimes just make up stuff. And so the lawyers end up having to explain to the judge why they were citing bad law, and they were sanctioned. They got in trouble.
Yeah, so if an actual licensed attorney is going to make a mistake like this, I bet you a lot of ordinary people make the same mistake, thinking, I'm just going to get legal advice by going into ChatGPT and asking it a question, and then I'll know the answer to my question. So you want to try that maybe and see, let's put a question in and see what answer it gives us.
Sure. Let's do an experiment here and see where it goes. Okay, so what question do you want me to type in, David? I've brought my ChatGPT app up on my computer.
Okay, so we've talked quite a bit in these videos about, say, DUI stops and, the use, whether you have to take a breath test and all that kind of stuff. So if I was, kind of worried about this and thinking, what happens if I get stopped for a DUI? And I'm just an ordinary guy, not a lawyer, I might put in there, do I have to take a breath test if I get stopped for a DUI? So put that question in. Do I have to take a breath test if I get stopped for a DUI?
Okay. Let's see what ChatGPT tells us. Well, first of all, it tells you to consult your local law, but it says in many jurisdictions there is implied consent laws that requires the driver to submit to a breath test when lawfully arrested on suspicion of DUI. Refusing the test can have penalties such as a license suspension, and then consult an attorney. So
that seems to be different than what we've said in some of these videos, which is that you actually don't have to. But you don't have to submit to the breath test. I mean, if I'm just somebody who doesn't know that from doing videos with you, I might go, oh, okay, great. That means I have to do the breath test. Otherwise, I'm going to get my license suspended. Is that right?
Well, that is not correct. And specifically in Wyoming, you do not face a license suspension for refusing a test. So let's just narrow it down to, do I have to take a test in Wyoming?
Oh, okay. So just adding in Wyoming to the question.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's telling me again that refusing to take a breath test in Wyoming may result in penalties such as a license suspension, and that is not accurate. So you can refuse to take a test, but ultimately if you do, because of the laws in Wyoming, the officer can then ask the court for a warrant and do a blood draw.
All right. So you can refuse, but if you refuse, so you're not facing license suspension, but you might end up having to do a blood draw. Is that what you're saying?
Right, and so this is misinformation because there is not a penalty associated with refusing to take a breath test. In Wyoming, they look at the breath test as, someone's knocking at your door and wanting to come into your house. Can you refuse? Yes. Can law enforcement get a warrant? Yes. So you have those protections under the Constitution. You know, you don't have to say yes to a breath test or a blood test or a urine test, but law enforcement can get a warrant, and then the judge can require you to submit to a test.
Okay, all right, but those are steps that are down the line. The first question of whether I have to take a breath test, what you're saying is the answer is, in Wyoming, is basically no. I mean, there might be other steps that happen after that, but you don't have to. But ChatGPT is telling us basically, yes, you do, or you're going to possibly face getting your license suspended. So it sounds like if you have a question like this and you ask ChatGPT, you might get an incorrect answer, but only a legal mind knows what questions to keep asking ChatGPT to get the correct answer. So an ordinary person sort of shouldn't be doing this, right?
Right. I mean, if you're going to get your legal advice from ChatGPT, it might be leading you down the wrong road and giving you flat out wrong information, like it did the attorneys in New York who are now in hot water with the judge.
All right, so they should call you, and how are they going to do that?
We'll include a link in the description where they can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.